And good evening, folks, and welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 503, and tonight we'll be having Coach Danny Terrell. And what we'll talk about? We'll talk about his recent traveling around the U.S., stopping at schools and et cetera, and what he's been doing recently, maybe the PTA camps there, et cetera, et cetera. This episode is really not going to be in regards to bio. If you want to check that out, that would be his episode 155. Seems so long ago, where we really covered his bio. This episode is just going to be what he's been doing lately and traveling around that camper. So without further ado, here he is. And if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. Hey, Coach.
Hey, how you doing, Dean?
So, it's been a while, so I thought it'd be nice to kind of catch up. For the folks who perhaps might not know, we did finally get to meet.
Yes, we did.
And your journey traveling around. So, just before we get into that, though, so maybe for the folks who don't know what you do, why don't you just a quick rundown on your bio?
Well, of course, I'm semi-retired now. I sold my school to one of my longtime students, Jake Bro, and my wife and I became nomads. We pretty much sold everything, bought a fifth wheel camper, and we spend a great deal of our time now just traveling around the United States and enjoying the United States, and then trying to drop in at different schools and either do some training or do some teaching or both, and just actually enjoying life. So it's a good fun time.
So what do you mean? So for folks who might not know you, like, why don't you give them your background, your martial arts background?
Well, I started boxing when I was 11, and then did a little bit of wrestling and did some gymnastics. Went in the military, did some military combatives and stuff with that. Trained with some other guys that was in the military. When I got out, I kind of didn't want to have anything to do with fighting at all for a few years, and then finally got back into it. Got my sons in it. Started training again. Met Francis Fong, of course, Guru Dan, Arjun Chai, getting involved with those guys. Started in Cali with a gentleman by the name of Omar Hakim, who was in New Orleans at the time. So I was traveling back and forth to New Orleans, about 2.5 hours away, at least once a month. Of course, he introduced me into the deeper aspects of Bikini. From there, he moved to the Houston area, Plano, in the Dallas area, Plano. Started bringing Chuhan Bill McGrath in, and of course went up there and trained with him, and just got to have a really good relationship with him and continued to train with that. So over the years, I've now trained Wing Chun, become very high level Wing Chun senior instructor under Francis Fong. I've trained with Guru Dan for almost the same amount of time, almost 30 years, 35 years. Arjun Chai, Arjan in the Thai Boxing Association. And with Tuan McGrath and Peter Tersha, Magano, which is elder instructor, which is kind of fitting for me because I'm the oldest person in the organization, so I'm indeed the elder. I also trained with a number of different Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructors. It was a 17-year white belt because I kept moving around as far as for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu goes, and then finally settled in with Eric Paulson. And wasn't long after I started training with him, he said, "You're not a white belt," and started moving up through the ranks with them. And I'm now a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Eric. I'm also a coach in CSW, Combat Submission Wrestling. I'm also an MMA coach. I've coached a number of different fighters. And that's about it. That's me pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, nice. So before we get to the traveling, what led you to because we're covering kind of what's new in your life, but what led you to kind of finally come to the decision to sell the school?
COVID came about, and I had a lot of injuries. I'd had several major surgeries, and my doctors were pretty adamant about I needed to slow down. I needed to stop doing a lot of the stuff that I was doing because I was still training very, very hard.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where I didn't have anybody else that I could move it on to try to sell it. So we decided to just go ahead and close the school. And we were very fortunate because we closed the school in November. And of course, COVID hit 3 months later.
Pretty much the spring of 2020, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we probably would have lost the school anyway if that had happened. So what I did was I closed the school. I closed in my garage and made it into a very small mini gym. And we had about 200 students at the time, between 200 and 250 students. I kept about 30 of them, those that stayed with me the closest, a lot of those that were doing private lessons with me. So I started doing that instead in small groups, 4 or 5 people at a time, because that's all we could fit in a garage anyway. And so we kind of went back to just basic roots of stuff. Was in there for a while, and Jake Bro, who had been training with me for a number of years, was a fighter. He said that he felt that training in the martial arts had changed his life. And he said, I just can't see all of this just shutting down and just quitting. And he said, I would love to work out a deal with you. Of course, we still had all the equipment. Even though I closed the school, we didn't.
Oh, you just didn't have the brick and mortar. You had everything else. I got you.
Right. And I had it in storage. So I was paying in the storage to keep it. So he said, I would love to be able to work a deal with you. And so we discussed it for a bit, and we worked out a deal, and I was going to stay with him for a while and mentor him and help him learn the business side. Yeah. He was already doing some instruction. He hadn't done much as far as for kids go. So started him off coming in and learning to teach and work with the kids, and we built it up from there, and finally moved out of the garage and got into a small building. He was in that building for 2 years, and he's not in a 3,000 square foot building now. And he's doing very, very well. So I teach there from time to time whenever I'm in town. I'll go in and I'll do one of the jiu-jitsu classes for him. And then, of course, I do Kali, a little bit of Wing Chun, a couple of the students, and mostly privates. And then just enjoying myself.
Wow. So you went from right into school, 200 plus students. You kind of closed it, due to COVID for obvious reasons. You weren't really, obviously, opening back up. I mean, COVID, your injuries, and then one of your longtime students kind of was able, which is sometimes can be the best situation, someone who's already familiar with what you're teaching, obviously, and
Yeah, it worked
yeah,
out
maybe
really
doesn't have
well.
the business end, and you're able to bring up the speed on that. Which I mean, if he can teach it or good with people, I mean, the business end, can just be not that that's the easiest end, but
No,
yeah,
that is most small schools and even big schools. People get into it and don't understand the business aspect of it. You have to realize you're running a business.
no, I
Uh,
know,
and
it's
that's
yeah.
why so many of them fail, or they continue to run, but they're taking money out of their pockets in order to run the school.
Yeah, or they're just breaking even, and exactly, they're not really. It's not sustaining. Obviously paying the bills. I mean, yeah, it's a tough. When I had mine, I mean, it did well, but yeah, I mean, you have to have the martial mindset, but then you gotta be able to flip the script. And when you're in the office alone, and it's like you gotta kind of change your lens as far as the business aspect and there and. That wasn't easy for me, and sometimes it's just not easy. I wasn't the best business person. I could tell you that. I made things work, but
Yeah.
I wasn't like the Taekwondo model. Far from it. You know what I mean? You know?
Well, I think that there's I, one of the things that I'm proudest of was that I think I stayed true to the arts as far as for teaching the individual arts. Um, but I was also true to a business that we made money off of it. And so we didn't have people coming out of our school for the most part that could not fight. They could
Yeah.
actually defend themselves. They could actually do things. And it's because we made them, we made them fight.
No, you made it functional. I mean, no, that's the one thing
That's it.
I tell folks about, you know, Bill McGrath's organization. I always mention you because to me, and nothing against other guys. It could be a time issue. It could just be they don't have the interest, which is great. This is their journey. That's it. But the fact that are so well rounded and you made a point to go into other systems. I mean, including ranges, the ground, et cetera, and all that. I always told people about if somebody tomorrow, Dean, you need to start training PTK. There's nothing else you can do. This is it. You got to do it, right? And I always tell people I would go train with Dan just because I know I'm good. I'm going to get the whole spectrum. I'm going to get from a fighter a functional lens, and you know what I mean. And well, you know me well enough when we met that I don't want fluff, man. I just
Right. It's got to be practical.
right. I'm not
Yeah.
getting any younger, man. So I don't need like a bunch of memorization and drill. And not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with that, but it gets kind of what's far removed with like what happens out there. You know what I mean?
Well, there are a lot of, and again, like you said, no disrespect to anybody else. That's
Yeah.
their, that's the way they're going. There are a lot of excellent drillers, and I'll go with this that there are guys out there that can do the drills much better than I can,
Oh my
and
God. Say it
and they
again.
look great. They,
Yeah.
but if you break the pattern on the drill, they can't follow you.
Yeah.
They're, and fighting is not a pattern.
Right.
It's and the only way that you can learn the drills, then you got to break the drills, and then you got to change all the timings, and you have to change the half beats, quarter beats, eighth beat movements. You have to change your angles and stuff. And if you don't do that, then you're really not fighting. You're just
No,
going
you're
through
just playing
rolling.
within a framework of cadence and air and memorization, really. And yeah. And not that it's anything wrong with that for the beginning.
No, no,
If you
no.
stay in that lane though, but and here's the thing too, and it's a tough thing, because I cover this a lot through all the episodes. It's like, and I have nothing against that. Like if that makes you happy, man, if that gets you off the couch and makes you happy, man, God bless, but it's when the instructor starts saying that this will defend you, and then we start crossing lines, and
Yeah, the ones that say this works all the time. This is
yeah, that's like,
or
yeah.
this is non-counterable. You can't beat this. No, no. You know, it's unfortunate that we're beginning to see that more and more in a lot of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff. And again, nothing against anybody at all whatsoever. I mean, no disrespect by it, but these guys that are doing strictly competition type Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now, they're losing the self-defense aspect of it.
Yeah, I know. I totally can see that, and that's been going on. Yeah, if they're in, yeah, and it's a tough thing too, because there you go. Like, we just view FMA kind of, but if it makes them happy, but if they think
Oh
actually
yeah,
that's like self-defense, then and they thinking that that's gonna be the answer for out there falling on your back and playing guard in a street fight. I mean, yeah. Unless
yeah,
you get put there intentionally, but just surrendering, going to the ground. But yeah, I know it's a tough thing to give opinion on. I find, like, I'm always really delicate to go up to that line, because first of all, who the hell am I to say what people should and shouldn't do? Secondly,
right.
right? And so I give, when somebody asks me or we have a conversation, I'll give how I feel, but I always be able to I always make inclusive that, hey, if they're, if they are honest with themselves and they know what they're doing and they just love just to do it because it keeps them, gets them out of the house, well, great, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have any problem with anybody training anything in any aspect that they want to train it, as long as they understand that what you're doing, you're not learning to fight, you're not learning to do self-defense. Yeah, that alone, self-defense. There's so much more inside of self-defense than doing a martial art, and there's a big difference between learning a
That's a
martial art,
whole
actually.
freaking subject matter right there. Just that global, that term, self-defense, right? Yeah, and that, but it falls on, getting back to you were saying, as long as they don't think they're like fighting. But I think that comes from up top. If the coach, with the integrity, honesty, in other words, hey guys, I'm just being honest with you. You're learning this art, but I don't want you to get the feeling, or I want you to start thinking that everything that you're doing here is translatable to fighting. Like, I think that has to come from the coach or the teacher, whoever's running that class or school.
Well, and I agree with you absolutely. The problem that I see with a lot of people is that there are, for the lack of a better term to use, is um, they're theoretical martial artists.
Mm,
So they know the theory, they understand being able to get somebody else to do that thing. But if they haven't done it under pressure, or with someone else trying to knock their head off, or someone
yeah.
trying to rip their arm off, then all you're doing is theory. And even then, when it comes to practicality, every single time it's a different scenario.
Yeah.
Just because it worked once doesn't mean it's going to work the second
No,
time.
different body types and
Absolutely.
sizes and talents and skill sets. And, I always go back to the knife because it's something I can just equate to. And I just gotta be honest, some of the stuff that's being taught there is just downright scary. It's
Oh,
just like what some of these folks think they're going to do. And yeah, I use knife because it's on just a hierarchy of consequences. You know what I mean?
but look at how many people do knife work at the wrong range.
Mm,
And if when you're attacked at the wrong range, then hell, even I can be good. you know, I have died so many times
yeah.
training.
Oh my God, my
And,
failures are. Oh yeah, yeah. Matter of
but
fact,
but
matter of fact, if you haven't gone through failures, then
yes,
you should be questioned right away, freaking like what you're teaching, man. If you have not gone through failures, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So,
That I had just recently someone, we were playing around with um, some empty hand stuff, and he slammed me, and he slammed me directly in the face, and he said, "Man, how is it that I was able to hit you?" And I said, "I moved in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's
I,
all. That's the reality
I'm,
of it.
I'm
It's
human and
gonna
I
happen."
make mistakes.
You know, look at professional boxers.
Oh my
They
God.
get hit all the time.
Right.
Look at baseball. You know, a batter gets up there, and if he's batting 300, man, he's doing great. So that means he hit the ball safely 3 times out of 10.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. I mean, for like against the professional pitchers and curveballs
yeah.
and sinkers, and yeah, absolutely.
So if someone's punching at you, or they thrusting at you with a knife, or slashing at you, and they're doing it at odd times, at odd angles, and yeah, you're gonna get cut. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna get, stabbed. It's gonna happen, and you need to go through that, because
Yeah,
then
I mean,
then you realize that hey, you're not infallible.
right.
You know,
Yeah. Assuming you're on the path to truth and functionality, you have to
absolutely.
experience that. And hopefully it's in increments and nothing's getting broken on the first day, right? So we got some folks here saying hi, Coach. I'm just
Oh,
going to give
cool.
them. We got Eric O'Brien. We got Maynard from
I,
LA, David Stewart from Virginia, GM Ray Floro, Jen from North Carolina, PJ Earl, Francisco, Frank Tchaikovsky, Renee, that Renee guy.
that Renee
Hmm,
guy.
no, we got Paulo,
Hey,
Dave
Paulo.
Doherty, Kurt,
Wow.
and Renee. Dean. Everything he says is not true. Dean hit me in the face, and I was just trying to shake his hand. Would you like to talk about the headbutt, Renee? But
Hi,
and we got
guys. Thanks for
Michael
dropping in.
Blackwave. Hey, all right, there's a monster. Um, so my fault. We digressed. That was on me. So I want to get back to you. Okay, you sell a school. And so was it always kind of an ambition of yours or an inspiration that you wanted to like, hey, one day I'm gonna sell the school and I'm gonna buy a camper and I'm just gonna travel around? Or was it just kind of through just events that started happening? Or
Yeah, it was just events, the way that things came about. Um, I had planned on trying to retire early,
mm,
so I spent a lot of time saving money and doing some.
oh, so this is definitely a sign of internet activity or inactivity. Oh, you're back.
I'm back. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So it must have been just some internet glitches.
Um, so where did I get dropped off?
So you were speaking on that you sold school, you're saving money.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, and we made some investments and stuff, and that worked out. I had another business. I was able to sell that business and bankroll that money. Um, Turned around and opened up the school, and had been running the school since '98. Um, and of course, that worked out pretty well as well for us. So when I had several injuries that came back, after rolling over 60s, all of the injuries come back.
After you're
Whether
saying
it
after
be,
60?
oh yeah, they all came
Oh,
back.
great,
So I
because
knocked on the door and said, "Hello."
I'm 4 months away, and well, here, not because I definitely want you to let you finish this point, but you brought up something good for folks perhaps who are getting older. Um, like I'm going to I go to gym like 3 times a week, 4 times a week. I'm doing band work. Like to me, you got to be proactive. You can't you got to be responsible, not just for your recovery and working through some injuries, whether they're small or big. But if you're not part of that, you're going to fall apart. I mean, right?
Well, yeah, I think a lot of us that stay in this genre
Mm.
uh, are a little bit different from the average person
Yeah,
that the
like if you're
medical
used to
people
sitting on a
see.
couch, like you're sure as hell not going to jump right away and start on an injury, right? So,
Yeah. So uh, if you stay active, and you're, again, like you said, you're proactive on taking care of yourself, uh, by exercise,
mm,
by what you eat and how you eat, and you don't have to be uh, where you're worrying about your diet all the time or anything. Just eat clean. That's all.
Yeah.
And do some good exercises. And if you get hurt, get it taken care of. Um, I'm probably one of the worst ones in order to be saying that kind of stuff. I tend to sort of tough it out. Um, that's what my doctor, who's been my doctor for about 25 years now, said. He said, Dan, you're the toughest individual I've ever encountered. How you go through some of this stuff doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Most people your age would have stopped a long time ago.
I think it's what you said though, like, because we're so goal oriented and we want to continue to do something, and there's also, we don't do anything else, so we do whatever we can to facilitate and self-improvement to keep us in the game, so to speak. That's what I found with myself, because there were times, man, I had 9 knee operations, late 90s, early 2000s, and there was a time I'm like looking like, what the hell am I doing? Like, maybe I'm ready for Batman. And then, but the moment I started thinking that, I got like this deep rooted fear, like, no, I'm not ready for that. Like, I'm just going to get in the gym and just go I don't care. And so you're probably tough, like your doctor says, because you've been resilient and kind of used to taking your licks and getting back up and doing what you got to do. And as far as eating healthy, that's true. Like, that's the kick I'm on now. Like, I'm really changing. I think the big 6 O's got me so much spooked. So I'm like trying to remove sugars. I'm trying to, it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but, watch what you eat. You don't have to, people go on a diet, everything you put in your mouth is your diet. So, do everything in moderation. Is vodka clean? Yeah, vodka's very clean.
Oh my God, I know.
My thing is I like bourbon. I really like bourbon. My problem.
You're a bourbon guy? Oh yeah.
My problem is when I drink bourbon, other people get stupid.
And then not you, other people.
and I don't deal with stupid very well, especially when I'm drinking bourbon. So I tend to stay away from it.
Oh, that's funny.
But anyway, so the injuries started coming back, and then you have, osteoarthritis from all the banging and punching, getting hit, in your joints, and then wear and tear on, shoulder problems. So anyway, all of the injuries that I've had over the years, broken toes, dislocated fingers, broken fingers from stick fighting, all of that started coming back. And so now everything hurts, everything. But, thank God for Mobic and hot showers. So,
Here's a question for you. Now that I know you're still doing stuff, right? But now that you sold the school and you've kind of been removed from that, you're doing your thing. Like, is it less now as far as the pain or the frequency, or is it less now that you're not training or doing as much, or no?
No.
Oh, no, I was kind of hoping you would. Okay.
No, it's painful no matter what, and if I can remember as a youngster, my dad would constantly, boy, you're going to pay for that later on. Boy, that one's going to hurt you later on in life.
Whatever.
It's going to come back to you. And yeah, he was right. So anyway, it was around late 50s, early 60s that everything started really coming back. And so I ended up having both my knees replaced, 6 months apart from each other. Had my right foot had been broken by Larry Hartzell back in 95 or 96.
Ooh.
He was demoing a toe hold, and he breaks two of the metatarsals in my foot. They never really healed properly, and that was probably my fault because I didn't give it the time that it should have done to heal. And I was off and running and doing stuff again. Yeah. I had at one time another dislocated all of the toes on my right foot at different times. Had broken several of the toes. So they went in and redid reconstruction surgery on my foot and rebroke all of my toes and reset everything and did the metacarpals and metatarsals. So that was pretty painful. And they told me I was going to need a second surgery on it. And I was like, no, I'm not doing a second surgery. If I get to the point where I can't walk, then maybe we'll do something
Yeah,
about it.
then we'll talk.
I'm not going back. That was the most painful thing I've ever been through.
Man.
And so I had that, and then I tore my rotator cuff, and it's just like, man. So, and my wife was pushing me very hard to, you need to back off. You need to slow down. You're not a young man, and I'm training fighters, and I'm still holding pads for them, and I'm still grappling with them, and I'm getting hurt from those guys, and it's funny. I have students who respect me so much that they would never even attempt to punch me. I have students who are intimidated by me. I can just look at them and I can use that against them and I can just intimidate them. I have students that will punch me and hit me because they respect me so much and know that that's what I want. They're going to come at me as hard as they can. And then I have the fighters who prove to me every time I work with them, you can't hang with us. And I was at that point that I can't hang with them, yet I was still trying to. So I had to be an adult. And again, my wife was pushing me to back off,
Yeah, and it's part of ego, but it's a healthy ego because you want to be part of it. You want to be in there and you're overlooking your age and the possibility of getting injured. But I still think it's like there could be, obviously, there's an unhealthy ego, there's a negative ego, right? Well, but there's a healthy aspect to ego. You know what I mean?
That's my passion, And
100%.
It was mentally, it was very hard for me to say, you're right. I can't do this way anymore, and to back off. So that was the deciding factor. Was that after having all the surgeries and stuff, and saying, you have to recognize that you're not 18, even though you think you're 18, and you can hang with them. You're going to continue to get hurt if you keep doing it this way. So let's just back off. And then my wife was like, let's go travel. We used to travel when we were young. Let's go back and start traveling again. And that was something that we did before we had kids. At least once a month, we would pack up the car. And on Friday afternoon, when we got off of work, we just took off and went somewhere. No plan where to go, just go. And so we did that until we had kids. And so, let's start doing this. And she said, let's get a camper and let's just travel. So we spent 2 years making plans to do that, getting rid of all of our stuff, culling everything down, and then made the leap, sold everything, bought a camper. And I wish I had done it 5 years prior.
Wow. Yeah, that's something. But you're doing it. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you get the camper, you're on there. And so I'm going to assume when I met you, that it was the first time that you took a camper and you kind of went all the states, statewide. Is that correct?
The first time that we went, that we made a big trip. We went west. I went up to
Oklahoma. Right, but you didn't go. Okay, right. You just went there, but you didn't do west, east, like just the last.
No, time. we went up to Oklahoma and then cut across Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, and then came back. And sort of made a loop. Came back along the border. And every place that we went, I'm going to say every place. A lot of the places that we went, whenever we pulled into a town, I tried to contact any of the schools that were there if they had schools and say, hey, I'm in the area and I'd love to come in and train with you guys. And I never, and I would never do this. I would never call someone and say, hey, I want to come in and teach for you guys.
Yeah. Right.
I just said, hey, I'm in the area and I'm interested in training, and would it be possible to come in and train? And it was funny that the first trip that we made, the first 6 places that I contacted told me no. And I was shocked
So
because
now, 'cause I want to get into this because I kind of broke it up into two aspects. One, I
sure.
want to get, the FMA schools you stopped, and then the other martial arts schools you stopped, and the takeaways, the reception, and there. So the first time you went to the West, you're saying not this recent trip where we met. First trip, 6 schools were not interested in you coming in and training. Were they FMA schools or just whatever schools?
Um, 2 were Wing Chun schools, 3 were Brazilian Jiu Jitsu schools, 1 was a Muay Thai, and 1 was FMA.
And all said they were not interested in
So,
you just stopping by and just jumping in group class.
yeah. Now, on the same note, it may well be, and I didn't ask that. They just said that if you're not part of our group or you're not with us, then no. If you want to come in and join our school or whatever, then yeah, you can
So
certainly
if you're
come in
not
and
part of the current organization, whatever it may be,
right.
and still
Now,
though, wow,
well,
that's
and it
weird.
surprised me. That really surprised me,
It would
especially
surprise me
Brazilian
too. And
Jiu-Jitsu.
yeah.
But on the same note, and again, I didn't ask him. On the same note, it was as we were coming out of COVID,
Yeah.
and it could be that there was still some reluctance on having people from the
Oh,
outside.
I mean,
Oh,
right. If we just caught it out of it, okay. And they're used to seeing their guy. Okay, and I can appreciate that. Okay.
so
But you know what though? But say that. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, because when I had, and I've always been this way, if someone came in from the outside area and said,
Yeah.
"Look, I'm in the area. I'm going to be here for 2 days. I'm going to be here for a week. Whatever. Can I come in and train?" Absolutely. Come on in.
100%. Yeah.
Fill
Yeah.
out a release form, and that's all you need to do is come in and train.
Yeah.
What's your mat fee? It just come in and train.
Yeah.
I don't. We're not worried
100%. I
about that.
mean, yeah. It's
And so
yeah.
with
I'm guessing. I mean, I want to think it was due to the precautionary aspects
well,
of somebody coming from a different state in there, but I wish they just would have said that to you. Hey, normally we would do this, but because we just got a COVID,
yeah.
Mm.
So when that again, I was it surprised me. I expected to get 1 or 2, but
Hey, yeah,
it
I
really
mean it's
surprised me.
fixed, right?
So I posted that on Facebook at the time, and we got inundated with people that said, "Hey, if you're in the area, just come on in."
Oh, so we
That
were
was
saying
really
like,
cool.
well, hey, something good came out of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I mean, I've met, hundreds of people now
Yeah,
that there's no
because
way I would have met or anything,
right, because
So,
your second trip, I mean, let's get
yeah,
to the second trip. So you basically, well, here, I mean, you tell it, and
yeah. So, well, now the trip that when I went up with you, that was my 3rd trip. So my second trip, we went up to the center of the country, up to South Dakota, and then cut across, went to Oregon, and then came back down California and came back around. The second trip, almost every place that I went to,
I bet.
yeah, come on in. There was 2 Wing Chun schools that said no. There was,
Are they just that tightly guarded?
yeah, there,
That's too
yeah,
bad. I don't think they're
yeah,
doing himself any favors, but that's just my
and
opinion.
yep. And I look, and I agree with you. I, I've been very, very fortunate that the instructors that I have been with are very, very high level instructors in everything that I've trained in, and their openness is, you know, phenomenal.
Mm.
And uh, when people are closed off, it makes you wonder, well, what is it that you're afraid of?
Yeah, I don't understand that without knowing them or the organization from
Yeah.
far, and yeah, that's perplexing. But what FMA schools did you stop at?
Um, Most of them were Inosanto followers.
And of course,
Uh,
A, because you're part of that. organization, so that wasn't an issue, right?
Yeah, and that was, and it's just there's just so many people out there that have trained with him.
Oh,
He's
God.
touched so
I
he's
know
touched
all
so
the
many
seminar.
people,
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
it wasn't that I was going out looking for Inosanto schools or anything.
Right, right.
It's just most every place that I went, there was someone that had trained with him in some
Well, you
form
got to
or
think
fashion,
about it. People get all the 50 states. I mean, he's got to have somebody. I think there's somebody in every
almost
state.
everywhere. Yeah. Um, I did do a couple of offshoots of the Bikiti family.
So
Um,
not like under
not
PTI's.
under right, not under PTI's umbrella. Um, and look, we're all different, right? We
Mm,
all have what we do. Um, no one has the perfect formula by any means. Although some people say that they're the only ones or whatever, I don't. So I don't knock anybody. I can learn from everybody. And now a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
times I may learn that, hey, I don't want to train with you and again, but
yeah.
um, we have a running
They're
joke with
still
me.
learning, right?
Yeah, yeah. I have a student of mine, Mark Amon, who's a long time, probably been with me about 22 years now. Um, and he said, over the years, going places, training with you, watching you train with other people, and it said, I saw you training with Dean over there. So how was? Oh, Dean was great, man. Really enjoyed it. I saw you training with Howard. Okay, so how was
Mm,
Howard? Oh, Howard's a nice guy, and I would explain things that way. And he
yeah,
finally said, after about 6 or 7 years, he said, I realized finally that when you like somebody and you enjoyed the training with them, you said you enjoyed the training with them. If you didn't, you just said he was a nice guy. And,
interesting. Okay, okay.
and I said, do I really do this? He said, yeah, every time I realized you. So that's your way of saying, hey, he sucks. But
Yeah.
and
Or
I said,
hey, yeah,
well,
he's a nice guy. Or hey, it
no,
wasn't. Yeah.
he was a nice guy, just not
Oh, my
someone I
freaking
want to train
God.
with. That's all.
Oh, he's trying to cause from here. So, Dean, question for Coach. Dean has been telling people that FMA is better than BJJ. Would you agree with him?
I think FMA is better for FMA as BJJ is for BJJ.
There we go.
I'll be diplomatic on that.
Yeah,
They both
that
have their lanes, and they
well,
both
so
do
you've been
very well
seeing
with
what
what they do.
the big, yeah. So, but okay,
And look,
so
I've seen a lot of bad boxing. I've seen
yeah,
a lot of bad Muay Thai. I've seen a lot of bad Jiu-Jitsu, and I've seen a lot of bad FMA.
there you go. So,
So
okay, so mostly Anasana schools, second trip, correct?
yeah, for the most part, as far as for FMA goes, and then some Muay Thai guys,
Okay.
and yeah,
How about let's go into the third trip. Now, the third trip was it more spread out? Because I think I might have gotten the trips confused. So that your third trip,
yeah.
more states?
So our third trip was this past summer. We went up more to the east, and then went up on the east side. Went through Alabama, the east side of Tennessee,
Okay.
Kentucky, West Virginia, back up into Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Went into New York, did the Bikini camp, and then swung back around your way and came down on the
Ah,
east
the
side.
camp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when this last trip, I had a really good time. Most of the jujitsu places that I contacted said, "Yeah, absolutely, come on in." I had two of them ask me to teach. Uh, they didn't want me to teach jujitsu; they wanted me to teach knife work, and so that
Okay.
was really pretty cool. So we did
Yeah.
some knife stuff with their guys, and we did stand up as well as stuff on the ground. They were very, very open and receptive to uh, playing that game versus just strictly a jujitsu type game.
Nice, because that's not a common thing.
Yep, and it was a pretty eye opening experience for them
No.
because grapplers tend to grapple, strikers tend to
Believe it or
strike.
not, right? They tend to grapple.
Yeah, and so their mindset is down that one lane,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden grappling tends to go out the window as far as for most of the BJJ type controls. All of a sudden, being able to control that knife or being able to control that weapon arm becomes extremely important to them.
They're looking for submissions right off the bat, right?
Yep. And then all of a sudden the knife comes out and it just changes everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I also had, and this is, I won't name the school and I won't name the instructor that was in the school because I promised him that I would not do that because it was a great learning experience for him. But I told him I can't not tell the story.
Okay.
And so this was after I had left you.
Okay.
We were heading down the East Coast, stopped in at a school, said, yeah, absolutely, come on in. And he said, the only thing what we're doing, we're not doing a bunch of really jujitsu stuff today. We're going to do self-defense. And I said, oh, awesome. It's good. Maybe I'll learn something from you. And I do that. My attitude is to learn something.
Sure.
No matter what. And so they're doing some of their stuff and he starts going into De La Riva guard. He starts going into X guard. And I just kind of, let me ask you something. Have you actually done this with someone trying to punch you? Have you actually done this with someone trying to stab you with a knife? And he says, well, from that position, I don't think you can punch me hard enough to hurt me. And I said, well, I don't need to punch you very hard if I have a knife. That punch all of a sudden becomes a stab. And I don't need to punch you very hard. And you're extremely open and vulnerable when you're sitting in X guard. And if you're in a De La Riva guard and I get my other arm free, it's going to be really tough on you. So he says, well, I don't think you can punch me hard enough to hurt me. And so
So is he just dismissing knife?
Yes. Yes. Or punching. Just punching.
Or punch, yeah.
So his enforcer says, man, you can't punch him hard enough to hurt him from that position.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, so put me in a position. So he puts me in X guard and I'm palming his face while he's got my X guard. Now he dumps me down, but I palmed his face 3 times before he dumps me.
Yeah.
So we get back up and I said, okay, so you took me down and that's not a big, that's, you're a young guy. You're stronger than I am. I'm 70 years old, but I'm still stabbing you in the face with that palm strike. Says, you got to acknowledge that first. And he said, well, yeah, if you had a knife, but if you tried to punch me, I don't think you could punch me hard enough.
He's still like not to
so his enforcer says, here, man, put a glove on and punch him in the face. So he gives me an MMA glove. And I said, no, I tell you what, you don't have a boxing glove because I don't want to hurt him. And he said, man, you can't punch me hard enough to hurt me. Says, okay, gets into place. And I hit him a couple of times, not really hard, but I popped him. And he said, you see, you can't hurt me. You can't hit me hard enough to hurt me. I said, man, I'm not hitting you that hard.
God
you need
almighty.
to acknowledge it. And he said, well, try to hit me with everything you got. I said, I don't want to. So I did. Broke his nose, bleeding all over the place. Yeah. And I said,
just the fact you were palming him 3 times, if that was a knife, like you think that would just right there would register.
So he was in shock. He said, I think you're right. I'm going to have to, I have never been hit this hard in my life. And I said, if you haven't been hit that hard, you've never been hit.
Yeah.
Because I'm an old guy. I can't hit hard.
Yeah, and I'm sure you hit hard with all the years of training.
They got monsters out there that hit a whole lot harder than I do.
30-pound, a 30-year-old, 200-pound plus guy. Right?
Yeah. So he said, I'm actually glad that we went through this, and I am going to change up and
maybe
redo.
You got to take the broken nose. He's going to change. So maybe in the long run, maybe you did him a favor.
Well, I feel bad about breaking his nose. I didn't want to punch him that hard.
No, sure.
But anyway, so it was it was an eye-opening experience for him and his enforcer.
I'm just amazed. Like, you kept bringing up knife.
Yeah.
You just kept missing it. Like, well, you can't punch me that hard from there. Well, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, that's here's a guy who obviously, I mean, he's good at what he does,
Okay, yeah.
but he's outside of his lane. He doesn't understand the aspect of really being hurt or injured or
Or
the
somebody just
true violence.
resisting, period. I mean,
Right.
you know.
And how did he get that way? I don't know. Was his instructor the same way? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I
But
mean, I'm probably guessing that he had to be exposed to it somewhere, right? I mean, or he just it's a culture he just created in his own place.
that may well be as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I do know that there's lots of jujitsu schools out there today that are strictly uh, competition jujitsu
Oh
schools.
my God, I think the
You know,
majority. I mean, and this is why I'm doing stuff with my son on the side with more real. But like, he's definitely where he was going was what it is. I 100% sport. Yeah.
yep. And so
Mhm.
they don't ever get hit. So they've lost the real beginning of jujitsu, which was for self defense,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and they're gonna really suffer on it because like all these guardrails they leave their groin just 100% completely open, and they're just going to get like there's no even concept of them protecting their groin. A lot of these guys I see, and they're just going to get freaking obliterated. But again, you probably yeah. So so interesting story. So what about FMA schools? So you're coming down like what
Um,
different styles?
um, the actually, I think I'm trying to remember. Okay, so
Because if I remember correctly, I thought there was a place in the Carolina or somewhere down there that you stopped by, but I could be completely off.
I stopped somewhere in West Virginia. Um,
Okay.
Shucks, wow,
All
I'm
right, let's
sorry.
back up
Uh,
before. Let's
yeah,
back up. Let's talk
well,
about when we met because I thought that was just so neat. Like, in matter of fact, I was so honored that you even just took the time to swing by, and to even make time to even see me. So,
well, I've been wanting to meet you. We had talked about that several times, and
yeah,
so I left Brockport, New York, where we had the Bikini Tertia camp, the
all
summer
right,
camp, um, and made our way over. Spent a couple of days on the road, and ran into your town and
yeah. And I
went out
said, hey,
a little bit.
you can park at Lowe's.
Yeah, yeah, and then we ended up parking that morning or whatever on the side of your place or whatever. So
Oh,
yeah,
here's the thing. Okay, you have to answer this because everybody's come up there. I always take in the Marzanos. Talk about the pizza.
I'm not a pizza eater, but it was a pretty good pizza.
Okay, we'll take it. We'll
Yeah,
take
it
it.
was. Yeah, it was good. It was good. We
Connecticut's known for
enjoyed
its
it.
pizza. So it was really neat when it was really enjoyable. Like when you came in, I felt no like pretentiousness or anything, just open dialogue, open sharing. Um, yeah, I thought it was really neat. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely. I, what I wanted to feel from you was your take on the 2-on-1 because you're so big on the two on one defenses,
You mean this?
and um, I think we worked through a couple of little small bumps and glitches along the way. I learned something along the way. I think you learned something, and that's what it's all about. It
Yeah,
wasn't about prove it to me or whatever, but it
yeah.
was about show me what you have and why does it work? Why do you feel that way? And uh, I hope that it was just as good on your end because
Oh, it
I
was. No,
enjoyed
no,
it
no.
thoroughly.
Yeah, it was really. I wish we had more time because what I really wanted, I wanted to play around with some Wing Chun because I don't have anybody good around here like in pure like Wing Chun. So, if we had more time, that would have been fun and neat. But you
Well,
know,
maybe we'll pass across again sometime and we can plan for that. That would be
yeah,
really
that would be enjoyable because I definitely would
yeah.
like to. I did it like I mean, gosh, 20 years ago or something, and I haven't really. I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't keep up on it. So I'm sure my is all
Well, you know,
my sensitivity and
if you
etc.
if you play the Hubud Lubud game or the Sagang Labo game,
Mm,
and instead of making it a continuous flow drill,
yeah.
if you did a start stop, then you would have a lot of what we do inside of Wing Chun to begin with.
Okay.
Um, that's I find that Wing Chun and a lot of the Filipino martial arts empty hand stuff flow very, very well together.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I know. I've heard that, and yeah. I mean, it makes
The
sense.
energies are different, but the positions are really
The position
quite,
seemed pretty right. Okay.
yeah.
That would have been neat. Yeah. Yeah. Next time. Yeah. Obviously, now that you're, because now, um, so you're basically right now. Obviously, you're in the camper. So like, where you are like right now.
I'm in St. Martinville, Louisiana. It's a little small town.
So do you
Uh,
generally, if you're not traveling, do you generally stay in Louisiana?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
far, we haven't found any place that we really want to be.
Yeah.
Um, we're quite fortunate in the fact that my wife's sister's husband uh, had been sick for a number of years, and he passed away just prior to us doing this.
Mm.
They had a camper, and he had a spot to hook up his camper and set it all up. Um, so when he passed, um, she said, "Why don't you just come over here and park here instead of being in a park somewhere?"
Mm.
And so we spent. Whenever I'm here, I'm able to do some maintenance and stuff for her, take care of her house because it had been in. He had been sick for 7 years, and he had not done much of anything on his house. So then, and then we pay for her utilities while we're here. So we
Oh, okay. So it works
so
out well.
that
Okay.
works out pretty well. And then from that, we just take off and go wherever we want to go.
So what's all right? So you did the West Coast, you did the East Coast, you kind of went up to straight Dakota. So what's the fourth trip plan? What's the plan?
Um, we're not sure yet. We want to go up to Alaska, but I'm not sure if we're going to do that this summer. More than likely, it's going to be next summer.
So you
Not
obviously would go through
26.
Canada and the
Doing it in
whole.
26. Yeah.
I was gonna say Canada, Mexico, but it sounds like you're gonna get Canada covered. I mean, so
We're gonna go on the certainly the west side of Canada in order to get to
yeah,
Alaska. I do want to go on the east side. We just
you should
things haven't worked
Toronto,
out.
but if you go to Vancouver, there's a big FMA community in Vancouver.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what I really want to do is I'd love to go up on the east side, go across, and then come back down through
Oh, I see. You're
Niagara,
trying to like make a box or
make a
something. I
loop,
gotcha.
and
Yeah.
then and time that with the summer camp coming back down
Okay.
in the
Because in
Brockport area.
Toronto, I mean, there's a lot of folks up in that Toronto area.
Yeah, yeah. There's a
And,
huge community up there.
yeah. And then I see you cut across. Matter of fact, if you cut across, you got Calgary, you got Joe Hungar, you got Kevin Goat.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, so they're Calgary, and then when you go Alberta next over, then you got Vancouver. I mean, you got some serious KI up there. I mean, you got Tommy Dye, the
Oh,
legit
that'd be
air
cool.
under
That would
San
be really cool.
Diego.
Yeah.
Louis Lindo, Kenneth Coe. I mean, though the big three, they're in that area there. You know.
That would be
Yeah, outside
love
of
to do
that,
it.
I don't know well, but just from the show and all that, I know they're there. But yeah, if you got to meet, Kevin Goat, he's yeah, he's a charming feller.
He's a tall dude, isn't he?
He's not just tall, man. Did I tell you when I would go train with him?
Wait, I knew that you did. You
We
said he
did
was
the
really
program
powerful.
together. So I'm going through customs. Now I knew he was tall. So I'm going through
Uh-huh.
customs, and all this, and I look across. So I see the height, but what I didn't understand was his width. So I'm walking, I'm like, this is gonna be a long weekend, man. I'm just like, oh my freaking goodness. And so we meet, and I'm like, okay. And so Friday night, man, just boom. I mean, just his power on the 2-1, I had to rotate, but he loved it, what I was doing and all that, hence making the program. But that's a big dude, man. He's not as big as Seth Raymond here, who's 7 feet tall, 330 pounds.
Oh yeah, that's whew, some
That
big
that
boys.
that's crazy. That's like insanity. But yeah, you enjoy him. I'm trying to think. Yeah, wow. So when's the camp? When's the PTI camp?
But we have a spring camp coming up in March. It'll be
So you
March
have
20.
spring and summer, or spring and fall?
So we now have a spring, summer, and fall, and Tuhan Bill is going to be doing a winter camp in February in Orlando.
Okay, I saw that one, but that's more or less with other folks though. That's not just PTI centric, right?
Well, no, he's going to do. He's doing two different camps in Orlando. He's going to do one that's open, and that's going to be part of his learning by comparisons
Oh, I saw that the
that he's
50
been
in
doing,
50 year.
and then
50.
he's doing a CT instructor camp only. So
Okay.
you either have to be a certified trainer or an instructor in PTI in order to make that camp. So that's going to be in Orlando in February. And then the end of March, we're doing the spring camp in Louisiana. Excuse me, in Louisiana. And then August will be the summer camp. And then November will be the second fall camp in Omaha.
So are the camps intentionally moved around, or is there one camp that's always in New York?
Yeah, the summer camps can always be in New York.
Will always be in New York. The other ones will fluctuate as far as.
Well, the spring camps can always be in Louisiana.
Okay, yeah. And that's what you're holding. Okay, gotcha.
Right.
All right.
And then even if I were to leave Louisiana, I would still hold the spring camp in Louisiana.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And then in that camp, that's where people get to experience both Tuhan Jack and Tuhan Scott Fogg.
So did you guys increase? Was it originally just one camp annually? Did you guys increase it to?
Yeah, we're the summer camp for many years.
Okay.
And then Scott and I agreed on and felt that a lot of the guys that were coming up had good knowledge, but they didn't have the same the skill sets did not follow the knowledge.
Okay.
So they were doing a lot more study and understood the theory and understood the techniques, but they couldn't pull them off. So we started the spring camp as a more of a reps camp. You're going to put in lots and lots of reps.
Okay.
And you're going to spar in this camp, and we're going to do more old school, the way that we actually came up. When Tuhan Bill was young, he taught a lot of stuff, but we did lots of stuff through repetitions, and we did quite a bit of sparring. And then he cut the sparring out because of insurance reasons. And he wasn't able to get the insurance to do the sparring. Well, I don't have a problem with that in Louisiana. So,
you're bringing it back, which is great. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Tuhan Scott was the same way. You know, he was like, yeah, these guys, they really need to spend more time getting their reps in and actually banging against somebody else. And so that was the spring camp's conception, was that we're going to make people do lots and lots of reps.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people don't like that. Well, tough.
Yeah, if you want to rest, or whatever. Yeah, it sounds like it's a healthy change or an addition, I should say.
And then, so we decided Tuhan Jack and I decided, let's try to go a little bit more to the center of the country and maybe westward slightly, and see if we can draw some people out of the west. And Omaha worked out really well because there was a school there that we could use with one of the guys that's in PTI. Okay. And he's got a 10,000 square foot school, which is really nice and big, and it's cheap to get to Omaha. It's about $300 flight almost anywhere in the United States to get flying into Omaha. So that works out pretty good.
And so are you guys deliberately, it sounds like, unless I'm mistaken, that you guys are trying to make this concerted effort to draw in new blood or younger folks. Is that fair?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
We want to build the gene pool. We want with good people and good attitudes. It's not about quality. I mean, quantity. It's about quality.
Yeah.
So we're trying to draw get new blood in and develop and strengthen the overall organization. And then
I think
not
it
so
needs to
much
happen
that
with
it's
all
just
FMA.
PTI,
Yeah.
but but PTK itself is excellent. But it's just the politics is so bad.
What
Um,
politics?
so we're trying to stay away from the politics on that side of it.
I think too on Bill. I've always said this, covering like
Excellent
all the
job.
episodes, that I've always admired the way he's run. Like, I think he's done an excellent job always staying outside of that, and you can see it from the folks that are under him too. So I think he's achieved that incredibly. Yeah, and so like, I don't associate I don't associate politics with him. You know what I mean? When it comes to BTK, like, I don't think of Bill as, you know what I mean? So I think he's done a good job staying away from that. So
Well, there's politics in everything. Um, it's just a matter of if we who are at the top can keep politics strictly at the top and just amongst us versus out to the lower levels and to other people.
but you guys are doing a good
So
job. I don't hear it. So
when things has come up, um, we get together and we talk about it, and what's the best way to approach
oh,
this.
that's nice. So you guys just problem
Um,
solve right off the bat. Okay.
yeah, we actually talk about it, try to be adults about it, and
Mm.
say, and Tuhan Bill has been, okay, guys, how do you think that I should approach this now? And a lot of
Mm.
times it's we talk about it. Here's the pros, here's the cons, um, and many times it just boils down to, hey, you've done a great job so far. Let's just stay the course.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
Like,
don't need to respond to those kinds of things. That's
yeah,
you know,
I know. And again, like, just from my discussion in 5 years, like, I hear one thing or another through the grapevine, and your guys are clean. I don't hear it. You know what I mean? So whatever you guys are doing it, you're doing it well. So,
well, we
um,
try. I mean, and
mm.
it's again, there are things that come up, but we try to keep it strictly in the
Well, you guys
council.
are keeping it in house, and you're doing a good job of
That
that.
that's
You
and that's where it should be. It shouldn't be
Yeah,
out on the public streets.
I
Yeah.
know. I know they got to put it out. I know. Like,
Well,
yeah,
Dean, there will always be controversy.
yeah,
There will always be those people who try to build themselves up by cutting other people down.
yeah.
There will always be those who will point a finger and blame. Uh, that there's enough students out there for all of us.
You would think, right?
You know,
I know. It's just that I know that tribalism, or it's like, God Almighty. And I've gone through it, in a non-FMA system, and it's just great. It's absurd. It's just crazy. It's like you're talking about globally. I mean, come on now.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you think about, I mean, FMA is a niche,
Mm.
and within FMA, PTK is a niche.
Yeah, there's niches within the niche, right?
And it's when you think about how many people there are in the world, and how many people are in the martial arts, and then how many of those are just in FMA,
I
and
know.
of those, how many of them are just in PTK? It's not a whole lot of people.
I mean, what did they say? 1% trains martial arts. So that 1%, how many are doing FMA?
Yeah,
And out of the FMA, how many are doing PTK? You know what I mean?
yeah. It,
I know.
so so we're gonna get all upset over a little tiny small
Oh,
fraction of that.
it's insanity. And
It's
here's the
crazy.
thing. I know. It's just, yeah. And what really kills me, some of these people that are doing this or have this mindset or partake in this behavior, some do this for a part-time basis. So they're not even relying it fully for their income. They're just doing it because they just of control mechanism or something. It's absurd. It's just like, yeah, you
Well,
know.
some of them are controlled and some of them are being used. They're being manipulated.
Yeah, or all the above, right? I mean,
or all of the above. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
And if you're allowing yourself to be manipulated, that says a lot about your character. It says a lot about your
yeah.
intelligence. Um,
So,
and, and
okay.
and look, I say this, no disrespect to anybody. You are who you are. You are what you are. That's.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I think yeah, that's fair. Sorry. All right. So overall, do you miss the school? Do you miss teaching regularly? Or you're like, wow, man, I'm kind of enjoying this.
Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying this. I don't. You know, I think I'm what I miss personally is the people.
Okay.
Working with those individuals that I put a lot of time and effort into.
Yeah.
Um, um, I not only do I have a passion for the arts and for teaching it,
Yeah.
I have a passion for the people, um, and it's exciting to see them continue to grow. But I do miss some of those that had been with me for a long time.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
No,
10 plus years or something like that. Yeah, that
oh
can't be
yeah,
easy. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, but man, traveling around and
Look,
visiting different people and folks, that's got to
it has
be,
been so rewarding.
yeah.
Um, and I've met so many people that there's no way in the world I would have met if I wouldn't be traveling.
It's same here, like FMA discussion. Like there are so many people. I'm finally starting to get like yourself, for instance, that I would never known or got to meet if it were not for FMA discussion. You know what I mean? Like, everybody talks about, man, you did 500 episodes, and to me, that's like the least important thing. It's the people I've met through this. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
you can't put a, and yeah, so I can definitely appreciate what you're saying as far as the traveling around and meeting folks.
And some people are really nice guys, and some people are really, really good. And I really enjoy being with them.
So right, so you got some were nice guys, and some were like, yeah, I really enjoyed my
I
time with
really
them.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
So when I talk to you, I'm gonna be like, so Dan, Coach, what do you think? Dean, you're a nice guy.
Nice guy. So yeah. Yeah. So Mark said that's my thing.
That's funny. Yeah. That's So all right, future. So we got. I mean, future plans. I mean, you don't have to school. You're not teaching regularly. You're traveling, but you pop into school or whatever. Like, what are you doing? I mean, the summer work. Are you
Yeah.
any
I'm
plans?
doing workshops.
Okay.
I'm doing some seminars. And I look at the difference between a workshop and a seminar. Seminar is all day or 2 days worth. Workshop is anywhere from 2 to 4 hours.
Yeah, like a clinic
Um,
or something. I gotcha.
yeah. So, matter of fact, I'm doing a workshop this coming Sunday up in the northwest corner of Houston, Cypress, Texas.
Hmm.
I'm going to do some Sakita work and some knife work. So yeah, I'm doing those kinds of things. I do teach once a week when I'm in Louisiana at a MMA school in Lafayette, which is about 20 miles away from where I am now. That sort of keeps me in on the MMA side. Good group of guys that I'm working with. I teach for Jake, a backup for him whenever he
Oh,
needs
if
some
he's got
off,
like need some
whatever.
time off or something. Okay.
Yeah. And I do a jujitsu class on Tuesdays. I do an MMA class session on Mondays, a jujitsu class on Tuesdays. I'm doing a couple private Wing Chuns, a couple private FMA. So I keep my hands in.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you no loss for like continuing to be active, right? So
Oh no, yeah, but I'm not. When I had to school,
yeah.
I was doing a workout session in the morning, a workout session at noon, and then we started privates at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Kids classes started at 4:30.
Mm.
It was bang 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 with
Go go
classes
go.
all
Yeah,
through.
those are long
Fighter
days.
started at 9 o'clock at night. So it was, I was doing a 5 o'clock class in the morning, and then it was 10:30 at night before I got home.
That's some
So
long
it makes them
day.
long days. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that could
So,
get old real quick.
yeah.
Wow. So, okay, that's the FMA side of things. Like, what about other arts? Like, if you had the time, well, you do have the time now, or more time, I should say. Like, any art that you haven't dived that you is piquing your interest now that you got time, or anything of interest?
I was talking with Tuhan Jack about that. Um, After I black belted in jujitsu, I said, that's it, I'm done. But playing with some of the other guys on Kali KI, that I think I would like to play with some of that, but um, nothing else other than that as of right now. I'm
That's all
just,
right. I
you know,
mean, yeah, you know why I asked? Because, like, I'm just being honest. There's some people that just they throw the towel in, or it's partially thrown in. They're not really seeking any knowledge or learning all that. And you're not that guy. Like, you're that guy that, likes new information, being exposed to different things. And that's the only reason why I asked you that. Like, if I knew the person, then I just don't even bother asking. To be
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
And
I'll never stop learning.
yeah,
Whether it be better ways to teach, how to pass on the information, better ways to
yeah,
communicate it. And I everybody that I work with, uh, especially if someone else is teaching, I watch them, listen to their presentation. Um, I may not like necessarily what they're doing, but I like learning how other people
how
teach.
they teach, how they engage yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right,
There's definitely something to that. Absolutely.
right. And I'm stealing from everybody. There's
Yeah.
guys that do some things,
I
or
say
the
you don't say
analogies that they
borrowing.
use.
You don't
Pardon
say
me?
borrow. You don't say borrow. You say
Oh, I
steal.
steal from them. Oh no, I steal from them. Yeah. So, uh, yeah, and there's a lot. When I do teach, if I teach something that I have picked up on my own, I'll say, look, this is how I've from my perspective, this is the way that I utilize it. If
Mm.
it's something that I got from somebody else, uh, I was this afternoon working with a guy, and I said, I got this from Dean Franco, and so I will give credit to wherever it
Yeah,
is that
I'm
it
the
came
same
from.
way,
I
man.
think that's important. It's I'm not
I
all
do
knowing,
too. Yeah, no
and
argument here. And the reason, I just feel that way because, man, you don't know maybe how hard and how many failures that person went through to get it where it's at, where you could take it and be of value. And if you can't even just give credit for that, I'm like, yeah, so you're not going to get an argument out of me for that. And I'm
yeah,
more on the kind of extreme end of that. And I'm perfectly honest with that. Like, I just think there's just no excuse. Just give credit. It's not
yep,
hard.
yep,
Yeah.
and
So,
there's I don't think there's anything out there that is new.
right. It's discovery.
You know,
You just,
it,
yeah, right.
you may have discovered it yourself,
That's it. That's it.
uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's new. Um, so there are things I've discovered on my own. There's other things
Sure.
that I've gone and someone else shown something, and I'm going, oh wow, wow, I
Yeah.
understand what this is about now.
Yeah.
Um, or just a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. No, right. I mean, but yeah. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. um, so here's okay. So this could be a good conversation to have with you, or a good question. And you probably would know this better than me. I'm only giving you from the lens in which I see it, and I don't see a lot of. I don't want to say interaction or just adaptation. I should say adopting. In other words, I look at BJJ and I look at FMA, and some crossover into some train. And the ones that do, I think that's fantastic, and I think they're getting extreme benefits from them. But there seems to be a reluctance for BJJ guys to look at weapons on the ground, and there seems to be a reluctance of FMA guys to want to go to the ground. Um, Am I correct in that general
Yes.
assumption?
I,
Or,
I, I I think a lot of people are in BJJ because they don't get hit.
yeah, I can wrap you up in a pretzel. Yeah, right. But they never had somebody like,
They don't get hit.
let
Our,
alone
our,
weapons, right?
with all the other stuff that we do in our school, our BJJ program is our biggest program, and
Wow. Okay.
it's in that program, and it's because and people will tell you, yeah, I can come in here, I can get a good workout, I can sweat really hard, um, I can tap so I don't get hurt, and I
Mm.
don't get punched in the face. I don't get hit with a stick.
At least they're being honest, I guess. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest draw is that
Yeah.
they can go hard. They're exhausted when it's over and done with. They may have their joints ripped out, but they're not punched in the face.
Yeah,
They're not
I'm
hit
not
in the
surprised by that
head.
at all. Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing. There's very, very few people that are willing to take that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, uh, you got to get hit sometimes in order to really know and understand.
Right.
On the other end, learning groundwork is a lot harder than it is to learn to swing a stick.
Yeah, well, I mean, all the intricacies of the ground position is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's so much more difficult. You have to
Yeah.
spend a lot more time down there doing it. Um,
But here's the thing, though, Coach. Like, I'm not now. I've been doing grappling for. I just never chose to get rank, and I'm not saying I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I put myself in that arena. I just never chose to get rank. But man, like to me, it's like, how do you not look at that? Like, and how do you not look at from a weapons thing? Like if you got thrown on the ground and a guy just wants to kill you for whatever freaking reason, and you don't even like the wherewithal for like monitoring hands or what to do, like here, well, I'll go further, Coach. If you teach empty hands against knife and you don't have grappling in there, to me, that's irresponsible. That's a
I,
range
I agree. Well, and it's got to be standing grappling as well as on the
as
ground.
as well as the ground. Like I see a lot of standing, but I don't see a lot.
I see a lot of standing that sucks.
Well, I'm being nice. Oh my God,
and I
Jack!
and I
Come on,
see
Jack
and
is here.
I see a lot of stuff on the ground that sucks. Um,
John Jack asked me to show your leg.
oh no, don't,
Or head butted for
yeah.
me. Yes,
Um,
what? I'm sorry, Coach. Good.
no. I think it comes from the instructor, like you said earlier. It comes from the
Yeah.
top. Um, what I do with those classes that I teach, I don't tell them ahead of time that this is what we're going to do. They're just involved with it. Okay, someone's going to grab a stick or someone's going to grab a knife, and now we're going to grapple on the ground with a knife. You're going to grapple with a stick. If we tell, and I learned that a long time ago, if I told them about it ahead of time, they didn't show up for class.
Interesting. So, like, oh, here, by the way, guys, here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, or we'll be grappling, and we'll drop
Yeah,
a
you just
stick on
walk
the
by,
ground,
drop it, gotcha, and somebody
drop a
grab
knife on the
it.
ground. Okay, and all of a sudden you see the grappling goes out the window.
You're like, oh boy.
Oh yeah, all those nice techniques and everything change
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. It goes to being able to control that weapon, and it's an important aspect that needs to be done because that's the reality
Yeah, you're not gonna get an argument from me, man. I just think like I think it's two lenses. Okay. I want to make you guys well rounded. I'm gonna introduce you one way or not with weapons on the ground. Okay, like you do, right? Then I think there's a very specific niche. I teach empty hands against knife defense. And if you're not covering the ground, you're not teaching a full comprehensive lens. You
But
know?
would you want those people who do not know groundwork to be teaching groundwork?
No, I'm assuming like the
Yeah,
person has been in there, has done it, has like worked with somebody like Kevin Go. I mean, I'm just using my example, Burton
yeah.
Richardson, like actually has definitely made a case study of like what works, what's coming out of high percentage, what is just god awful in there. So I'm going definitely with the assumption that the person has a background there.
Well, and look, no disrespect to anybody else out there by any means. Um, when you look at a lot of what's being shown as Filipino martial arts groundwork, uh, it's horrible.
We know what they're doing over the Philippines, and I don't think it's wrong. They're using the word dumag, and now it's an umbrella term for a catch-all term for anything groundwork. In other words, it could be BJJ, it could be Greco wrestling, it could be Sambo, but if it's
Well,
grappling, it's under the
I don't have a
umbrella
problem
of
with
dumag.
that, but at least say where you're getting it from.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
credit
I
needs to
can't
be good
speak
with
on
credit.
that. I'm sure there's some who are not, but I
I
did
know
because I
that
asked
there's
this guy. I interviewed this guy. I said, "Hey, look, I want to be honest with you. This is like 3 years ago. Are you using the term dumag as an umbrella term, all encompassing for these different styles? Because I'm seeing BJJ." He admitted, he goes, "Yeah." So,
yeah. Well, then and that's good.
yeah, I thought so.
If they're using good stuff, there's some guys within the PTK arena that are doing groundwork that some of it is okay, but most of it sucks.
It's
Plain and
because it's a
simple.
moment from a more an FMA lens.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it's that they're getting into positions that if the guy is injured badly, you can put him in that position.
Yeah, the big on
But if the guy
diminishment.
is fighting and he's trying to, and there's a knife or a blade or a stick involved while you're on the ground doing that, it is not going to work that way. Plain
No.
and simple. Uh, and
Yeah,
and
but
the
it
only way,
makes sense what you're saying because if you look at the Dog Brothers, like like I did a lot of that material, under Bird and all that, and it was not FMA grappling. I'm telling you that right now, and it was not. It was anything but, to be honest with you.
well, I mean that's a perfect example to show that it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, uh, look, this old guy can look really good on the ground when I'm demoing.
sure.
It doesn't look near as good when someone is resisting and fighting
They're
back.
trying to hit you and hit you with a pony on the stick in your skull,
It,
right?
right. It changes everything.
Yeah.
And so, uh, again, there's theoretical martial artists that go through the movements and the motions, and it looks good and it looks really cool. It's just like people doing disarms. The disarms are fantastic until the other guy is
There's a
trying to
whole
stop you
subject
from
matter.
disarming. It
Yeah.
disarms are more of an accident than it is actually a
Yeah.
technique. Uh, I tell everybody I teach you disarm so you don't get disarmed, not so that you
Oh,
go in and you learn how to not be disarmed.
that's interesting. Yeah, right. How to not to get disarmed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And they
what's
said,
missing?
screw
What's
those
missing
Dog
in
Brothers.
most of all of those things in training? What is missing?
Yeah.
The actual violence, the actual violent
And
action.
here's the thing too, it can be done. There's such a way to achieve it. Nobody's saying that you need to go right from the get-go and just go balls to the wall. And now you have failures, you're frustrated, and now you're not
Yeah,
gonna go
no,
back
you can
again.
you have to build it up. Yes,
Yeah, you just go in increments. I don't,
yes.
except for Renee when he headbutts you in the chest, then yeah.
Well,
I totally agree with you though. I am totally on board with your lens. And yeah, I think you're just being honest. I don't think you're being disrespectful in any regard. It doesn't freaking work. And matter of
no,
fact, I think you would be disingenuous if you were even alluding to that some of it worked just for the sake not to upset people.
well, and Dean, there are things that Renee can probably pull off that I can't.
Renee's a
There are
nat
things,
yeah,
there are things that maybe you can pull off that I
yeah.
can't.
Renee's
There are
got
things
that
that I can pull off
wacky
that maybe you can't. It goes
yeah,
both
different
ways.
biceps. Yeah.
But how do you learn that? You learn that by getting down there and doing it.
Yeah, and having
You know,
somebody in gradual increment resist you into a points of failure, right? I mean,
and I'm really big on this when I'm teaching, and those people that are within PTI that know me and knows my different lenses. Here is the technique, and this is the traditional technique, and this is how I learned it. This is how I use it because I can't do it that way.
Right.
It doesn't work for me. Doesn't mean it won't work for you, but it doesn't work for me.
But at least you're being very open-ended with your
That's
students. And I mean, I think that's, yeah, I mean, that's refreshing. Like, yeah. Yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic. Like I see this in FMA discussion all the time. And I used to say things. No, I'm just tired. I'm just being honest. Like I'm just tired.
interesting.
And then you
That's
get
what I.
then you're arguing with somebody online that you don't know. It's just I just don't even say anything anymore. I just post it and I'm just like there. But some of these guys, what they're doing, it's just crap. It's freaking crap. They're rolling around, but it's just crap. And actually, they're saying like, oh, we're experimenting. But experimenting could be also bad. I mean, like if you're not even, cluing in what they students should be doing correctly, and you're just doing,
Yeah.
I mean, so it could have a really adverse effect. And people are watching it thinking that's what they should do. Now you got a further adverse effect because now you got people seeing it.
Well, part of that problem is people are only seeing a tiny piece or a snippet of something, and then they're
Yeah,
making a discussion based upon that. But and then, of course, that's a whole different rabbit that we can run down.
I know. There's a lot of rabbit holes.
Like someone looking at a still picture and saying that that's completely wrong. Well, where within the framework of movement was that picture taken?
Yeah.
So, but it's if you're experimenting, and I've been there, I've gone down that road. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get in
We
this
all have.
position and let's work this, and we're
Yeah.
look, this sucks, this doesn't work. And say, oh no, this is pretty cool, this is pretty good. No, this sucks.
It just doesn't
This
work.
doesn't work. Let's change the way we're doing this. Is the timing wrong? Is the position wrong? Something that's not working, and it's
Yeah,
and
you guys just
there's a
know
lot
when
of
to throw
things.
things out. You just got to surrender.
So
You guys just know when to throw things out and
that's
just.
it. You got to
And then,
say, look,
what comes
get
to
rid of it.
emotional attachments. Like
Yeah.
people, they get attached and like, oh no, we this was given to me, and we have to make it. And like something, you just gotta be like, no, it doesn't work.
Look, there are things that Tuhan Bill does
Yeah.
that I can't do and I won't even attempt to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm not Tuhan Bill. I'm not his size.
Yeah.
I'm not, I I've I've gained weight and I've lost height. So I used to be 5'7.5". I'm now 5'6". I've lost 1.5 inches in height just in your joints collapse and everything comes
But
out.
hey,
So
but you're still
I'm
growing, right?
I'm not I'm not a big guy.
Yeah.
Tuhan Bill was 6'1" or whatever, and 250 pounds, and I was 155 pounds, and I was 5'7". I said, and it was funny. One day he said, "Just walk through me." I said, "I can't walk through you."
Yeah.
So you have to figure it out for yourself and adjust and make it work for you. And then certain things that doesn't work for me, I'm going to move on. Doesn't mean that it's not a viable technique for somebody else.
Sure.
But I'll still teach it, but Danny's not doing it.
Yeah, I'll teach stuff that doesn't really necessarily work for me based on body type or whatever, long as though I've seen it play out in a functional manner and that.
Yes. Yes.
But if not, then it just gets scrapped, right?
Yep.
But yeah, interesting. But yeah, I thought that would be like just your take on that. That these two communities that I think could benefit greatly, and some do. And don't get me wrong, there's some people that do both, and I think that's fantastic, and they do. And obviously, I'm not making this just a generic statement across the both communities. But I think as a whole, though, I think it could be greatly improved.
Well, that certainly can be said about most
I
all
guess
of
a
the
lot of
clubs
things,
across the board and everywhere. Like I said, everybody that is at least in the know of and honest knows that boxing is an excellent way of being able to fight. But there are a lot of terrible boxers out there.
Or teaching it. Okay.
So, there are bad boxers. There are bad Filipino martial artists. There are bad jiu-jitsu guys. There are people who get into the martial arts and they train for 2 years and they get pretty good at one or two things and they suck at everything else because they don't stay in it long enough. And then they make judgments about other stuff. I kind of I don't get in arguments with those kind of people because it's not worth it. I just tell them, "Whoa, that's interesting."
All right, he's a nice
Move
guy.
on. He's a nice guy. Yeah, yeah. It's not worth my time or effort, you know.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, otherwise you're just gonna be arguing and just wasting time online for somebody you're never gonna even freaking meet, right? It's just
Yeah.
crazy. It's
So
just,
when I was younger, I was more along the lines of, "All right, dude, you're gonna have to show it to me.
yeah.
You're gonna have to prove that to me that that's gonna work." And
Sometimes
now,
the best way though, like you go meet the person and
Mhm.
you guys you just do it and right. That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Well, I've gotten to the point now where I don't care. I don't. I'm passionate about uh, my students and what I pass on to
Mm.
my students and making them as best that they can be. And I'm not worried about too much whatever the people do.
Yeah, it's fun. I think that just comes with age because like I used to really care what people thought. Like when I first had FMA discussion, okay, am I doing this right? You know, am I being fair to everybody? Am I representing it? And now I'm like, man, I don't freaking care. Like I don't care what you say about me. I don't care if you like what I do. I don't care if you like my episodes. I don't care if you like my show. I don't care. Like, I just don't care because the guys that do that complaining, they're not freaking doing anything for the community. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, it's a weird dynamic, man. Wow. But this has been awesome. Man, I appreciate you like kind of
I
letting me know.
appreciate you, Dean, and I appreciate everybody else. Those
Yeah.
places that have opened their doors for me to go in and to be a part of them and to train, and then those that have asked me to teach. Uh, I deeply, deeply appreciate it.
Yeah, that's really neat. So I'm looking forward. Well, when you do your Ford trip, if you happen to kind of swing up towards the Connecticut way, you
Yeah,
know.
I would definitely. I'd like to spend some time that we can maybe do a couple of days instead of a couple of
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, yeah. I would, yeah.
Really
If
cool.
I know you again, if you know in advance, like I will absolutely free up time, and then we can work. You know that.
Well, and then hopefully maybe somewhere across the east side, wherever you're doing some of the things that you do, and maybe we could cross paths and spend some time together doing that too. So
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I'm looking forward to it. But no, I'm glad really things are going well. With because I remember like when we met, like you're telling like you sold everything and this is it. I'm just glad it's like working out so well for you.
it is it is, and my wife Jackie has she embraced this before I did, and I'm
That
actually
must have been really helpful.
it has been, and look, if I didn't have her support, I certainly
That's what I was
couldn't
gonna
do the
say,
things
man.
that I
That would
did,
have been a tough nut,
man.
right?
And just Dean, over the years, and I know that you know this, I think we even sort of spoke about it once or twice, is that, how much money have you taken out of your family's income to be able to chase and train and to get the knowledge and then the time spent to develop the skills, uh, and then the time being injured and recovery. Um, that's a lot of expense and a lot of
I plead
time.
the fifth.
And and if you don't have if you don't have a supportive wife, or
Yeah.
man, you couldn't do it. I
No,
couldn't.
I do have regret. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like I do have regrets where because let's just be honest, there's an aspect of selfishness that does take over sometimes, and you have to rein it. And I know for me, man, I've gotten pretty selfish at times, and looking back, it's not a great feeling. So now, but yeah, it wasn't malicious. It was just we're so driven, you know. What I
Yeah,
mean? You know.
yeah. The passion for learning to and it's not just the passion for learning, man. The relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got some. I mean, look, would really surprise me when I injured my leg, and that this last incident that I have that I ended up with strep in my lower leg, um, almost lost my leg,
Oof.
You become reflective.
Yeah.
For the first time ever in my life that I was ever thinking about my mortality. Um, you begin to prioritize things. Um, the amount of people that I have influenced, not knowing that I had influenced them. Literally hundreds of people sent me messages saying that they heard about the possibility of me having lost my leg, and um, that I influenced them somehow or another within their martial arts journey. And it could have been directly or indirectly,
Hmm.
where I trained with their instructor, or I helped their instructor in a seminar or something. And he came home and said, look, I got this from Coach Danny, and this made my game much better. And he was able to pass that on to somebody else. And so, we influence each other in some form of fashion all the time,
Yeah.
without even realizing it. Um, and I was talking with a gentleman a couple of weeks ago. I was at one of the fights. Um, and while I was talking to him, I was explaining that, because he had asked about my leg, and I was explaining that scenario, that story about it. And there's a young man that's a fighter had fought earlier that evening, and he's standing right there. And I noticed him standing there, but we continued to talk, and finally there was a pause in the conversation, and he came over and he said, Coach Danny, I know you don't know me. I just wanted to let you know that you have inspired me so much, and I've watched you coach, and the way that you handle yourself with your fighters, and the way that you handle yourself in the cage and with the refs and everything. I'm just a fan of yours. Is those kinds of things that
Yeah.
you don't
Priceless, right?
realize, man.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's really cool. So it's now I'm meeting people that I've never met before.
Yeah.
They know me, but I don't know them. It's a crazy, crazy
And
thing.
I know people I know, I feel bad. Like they'll come, hey, I just want to thank you for what you're doing with your, and like, cause I'm not that type of guy. And I'm just like, oh, like I sometimes don't even know what to say. And I kind of look stupid. I mean, I'm appreciative, don't get me wrong, but just getting caught off guard like that you like, inspired somebody, or that you like somebody's taking an interest in what you're doing from afar. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
weird.
pretty cool. Well, the best thing you can do is just say thank you.
Yeah,
And
which I end up
I,
doing after I'm just with, like, it's
yeah,
just, man,
yeah.
awesome, awesome, man. So,
Yeah.
well, Coach, again, thank you so much. Tell the
Oh,
tell
thank
the
you.
missus, thank you for borrowing you for close to 2 hours.
Wow. Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking this is not going to go very long.
Oh, no, 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 no. I knew it was gonna go. I knew it was gonna at least go an hour and a half, just talking about your trips, and then I knew I was gonna put that BJJ and the FMA piece in there. So yeah. So I knew it was gonna be a good conversation. So,
Cool.
but all right. Well, hey, you take care of yourself, and hopefully to see you again sometime.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. All
Thank you,
right, Coach.
D.
You take care.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
All right.
All right, that wraps up 503. Who's next? Okay, I'll tell you who's next. Mark Medeiros is coming on. He's going to talk about his new podcast and some other things. And somebody suggested covering was Francisco, actually. Competition versus fighting. WCAF and Dog Brothers. Somebody had mentioned something, and um, Francisco thought they really weren't understanding the difference between the two, and he thought it'd be a good idea, perhaps having a show on it to really make the distinction between both formats, far as that goes. So, yeah, so that would be something we could definitely cover. Other than that, though, but I think next week it's Mark, and probably the following week maybe I'll see if somebody's going to jump on to tackle that sparring thing. WCAF versus Dog Brothers, right? And obviously the differences. All right. So if you watch tonight, thank you. Appreciate it. And if I don't see or talk to you before the holidays come up, have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. But hopefully you guys will be here next week with Mark and all that. So until next time.